What's going on, fellow Illuminaries? Welcome back. I'm Lorcana Thanos, the Mad Titan of the Illuminary, and today we are continuing with our top 10 cards for Ursula's return. This time talking about Emerald with the top 10 cards in Emerald. Let's get started.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Number 10. So at number 10, we have Ursula's Trickery. This one cost non-equal action. Says each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you draw a card. So this card is better in multiplayer ideally, but I do think in a 1v1 matchup that your opponent is ideally not going to discard, and so you're going to be able to draw a card. And if they do discard and say you have Prince John on board, guess what? You're drawing a card either way, and you got your opponent to drop a card. So I think this with the Emerald discard decks is going to be very good. Number 9. So at number 9, we have a location. It is Hidden Cove, Tranquil Haven. This is a 1 cost inkable location. Costs 1 to move here and has 6 willpower. And the ability is Revitalizing Waters. Characters get +1 strength and +1 willpower while here. So that is actually pretty strong, especially on the defensive element, but it can come in offensively too. If you need to challenge and you end up being just short, especially if you have Challenger, that additional boost is actually going to be really good. Number 8. So at number 8, we have Signed a Contract. This is an inkable 2-cost item that says fine print. Whenever an opponent plays a song, you may draw a card. So this is anti-Steel Song, ideally. So as a Steel Song player, I was not too happy to see this card when it got revealed. But I mean, even in general, most decks are going to play songs, and so I think this is a pretty interesting anti-meta card. And yeah, having another way to draw cards, even though item removal is a thing, I think having an additional way to draw cards against decks like Steel Song that utilize songs a lot is a good thing. And obviously, if you have more of these in play, you can stack them. And this isn't once per turn. Number 7. So at number 7 is a card I think a lot of you are going to want to be in a higher position, but I think that the cards that are higher are there for a reason. So number 7 is Hidden Inkcaster. It's a non-inkable 2-cost item that has 2 abilities. Fresh Ink. When you play this item, draw a card. So you have a on-play replacement effect, which is always good. And the reason why I think you guys want this higher is for the secondary ability, Unexpected Treasure. All cards in your hand count as having the Inkwell symbol. That is absurdly good for Emerald because a lot of their cards are not inkable, and it makes it really hard to play Emerald sometimes. So giving Emerald this is very good. Emerald is a ink color that I am not looking forward to seeing a lot going forward. I might have to shift to it, unfortunately. But the thing as to why I have this card a little bit lower on the list is because obviously item removal is a thing. I think Sapphire, when we get to the Sapphire list, um, obviously got a lot more items, and I think item removal is going to be so important as we shift into the set 4 meta, going into Chicago and beyond. And that's why I can't put this higher because of the amount of item removal I think is necessary going forward into the metagame. If item removal wasn't such a necessary thing, I would definitely have this card in the top 4 for sure. I can't say right now where it would fit because that's not the list that we're working with. But Hidden Inkcaster is good as long as it stays on the board. So that's why it's at number 7. Number 6. So at number 6 is the Muses, Proclaimer of Heroes. They are a 4-cost inkable Storyborn ally that has 2 strength, 4 willpower, and a lore pip, and ward, which is fantastic. I wish more cards had ward. And their ability is the gospel truth. Whenever you play a song, you may return chosen character with 2 strength or less to their player's hand. So, as we've talked about in the Amber and Amethyst video, if you haven't watched the best cards in Amethyst, be sure to click the card right here. But the strength reduction that is in this set is very interesting, and I think this card will see play for sure. Obviously, with it being an emerald, you are going to be able to really abuse this. I think with Ursula, Deceiver of All, I think that card is already a problem, and it's going to be even more of a menace as we go further into the Ursula return meta. And so, with that being said, this card is definitely a staple in Emerald, and it's honestly interchangeable with the number 5 slot. So if you think it's better than the number 5 slot, I don't care if you switch them around. That's whatever. Number 5. Moving right along, we have reached the midway point for our Emerald list, and at number 5 is Prince Philip, Vanquisher of Heroes. He is a 9-cost inkable Floodborn hero. He is also a prince, naturally. Philip has 6 strength, 6 willpower with 3 lure pips. He shifts for 6 and has evasive, and his ability is swift and sure. When you play this character, banish all opposing damage characters. If you pair that with steel, that is a very good ability, especially if you just go grab your swords and then shift into this guy. You are banishing every character on the board as long as they obviously aren't protected by ward. Otherwise, you are nuking the entire board, and that is very strong. Number 4. So, miraculously, somehow, at the number 4 slot, just bubbling out of top 3. I don't know how this bird keeps doing it, but that is Hey Hey Bumbling Rooster, and boy, is that a proper name for this idiot. Hey Hey is a inkable 3-cost Storyborn ally, 2 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore pips. And the ability is Fatten You Up. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their inkwell than you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So this is anti-Sapphire support, and I think that's very, very good. Obviously, Ruby Sapphire is probably going to be not probably, will be one of the top 3, if not top 2 decks still as we enter the Ursula's Return metagame. And so having something that is anti-Sapphire is, I think, very powerful. And there's really not much else to say. Hey, you have earned your spot. Number 3. So at number 3, we have Pegasus Cloud Racer. Pegasus is a inkable 5-cost Floodborn ally that has 3 strength, 3 willpower, and 2 lore pips. He shifts for 3, has evasive, which is so strong. And his hop-on ability says when you play this character, if you use shift to play him, your characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. So I love the design philosophy that's going into this set, where they're relying a lot on giving your other characters a lot of added abilities, as we saw in the Amethyst video. And as you look at what's going on here, Emerald seems to be really relying on evasive, and I think that's a really cool design strategy for the ink as we go forward and we get more cards for the game. And so, yeah, that is number 3, Pegasus. Number 2, we're talking about Bruno. That's right, number 2, we don't talk about Bruno. This is a 5-cost inkable song that says return chosen character to their player's hand, then that player discards a card at random. So, bouncing plus discarding, yes please. That definitely sounds very good to me, and I just really, really enjoy this card. I really like the enchanted art, as you see on the screen here. Obviously, you guys know what the number 1 card is, and we will talk about that here in just a second. But if that number 1 card was not number 1 for a reason, we would have Bruno here at number 1. But obviously, the number 1 card is number 1 for a reason. So at number 2 is we don't talk about Bruno. Number 1. And at number 1, we have Diablo, Devoted Herald. Diablo is 3 costs, non-inkable, Bloodborne ally, 2 strength, 2 willpower, with a lore pip. You shift by discarding an action card, has evasive, and has an ability called Circle Far and Wide. During each opponent's turn, whenever they draw a card while this card is exerted, you may draw a card. So, obviously, the Yu-Gi-Oh players, as I talked about in my ranking every legendary video, the Yu-Gi-Oh players are comparing this to Max C, which, while that's not a comparable one-to-one comparison, I understand what you guys are saying, as I said in that video. And Diablo is obviously number one. There's no other card in this ink that for this set that I can pick above him. I really like the enchanted art as you see on the screen here. I still have the same qualms that I with him that I talked about in that ranking video, and that is his willpower is way too low. You can pop him very easily before you could get the draw ability up, and I think that's where this card falls short. And I understand why you guys like it so much. I don't think it's worth the value that is currently being placed on him, but that's my personal preference. I know a lot of you will disagree with me, and I can't really change that. You know, you're all entitled to your own opinion, but personally for me, um, if Diablo, I wish Diablo, because he is a 3 cost, was say 3 or 4 willpower and maybe 1 strength, kind of lower his value a little bit, then I could get a little bit further behind him. But I understand why he's statted the way that he is. All right, so that's going to do it for our top 10 cards in Emerald. Be sure to let me know down below what you thought, and if you need to rearrange the list, that's perfectly fine. If you thought I missed something, if you disagree, let's have a friendly discussion about it. As always, be sure to give me one of these. You always hear us talk about it, but it's super impactful. It is very helpful for us. As always, be sure to smash the subscribe button. You know, I'm trying to grow and getting back into the YouTube thing after about a year off. And so I can't do this without you guys. Hopefully you enjoy the content. I do it for you because, and also because I enjoy talking about the game. You can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter on X at Lorcana. Thanos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. And remember, the hardest choices require the strongest wills.